And then Virgos need to be studied. Yeah, I feel like y'all aren't human. Like similar to Aquarius, y'all aren't like
I'm a Virgo.
human.
Controlling, perfectionists, self-critical, loyal, loving. Those are some good ones too. But not like controlling, I mean like control freak in the sense of like, it's fine, I'll just do it myself. You don't need to help me. I can do it. I actually got in trouble in class when I was a kid because it would be group projects and I would do all the work because I was like, you guys are gonna mess it up, so don't worry, I'll do everything.
I'm a Virgo.
I'm a Virgo.
I am a Virgo. Obviously, Michael, Beyonce. Need I say more?
I'm a Virgo.
I'm Beyonce, and I'm a Virgo.
When is your birthday?
September the 14th.
Virgo.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome back to another podcast of Chakras and Cusswords. My name is Catherine, and I am your host. Today, we are getting all into the energy of the Virgo and learning about what does it mean to be a Virgo and what is this zodiac made of? Well, I'll tell you, Virgos to me, when I automatically think of them, I automatically think of like goddess energy. I'm not going to lie. There's so much about a Virgo that I just feel like it's so beautiful, so earthly, and like really has this presence about them. Their polarity is negative, meaning they are seen as a feminine energy, and their quality is mutable. They are an earth element, and they are ruled by the planet Mercury. Now, when I think about Virgo, one of the things that also pops into my head is perfectionist, and they love to analyze. Also, the Virgo has an area of duty and purity. So the Virgo is also known with its energy of Chiron and being centered around areas of being like a healer or a teacher. And I feel like that kind of runs true with a lot of the earth signs. Some of their downfalls can be like they're a little anxious, they're a little, I guess you could say critical. But for the most part, the Virgos are very much centered off of movement that feels intertwined with them. The color that kind of has a representation to the Virgo is brown. And also the area of the body is the intestines, joints, and nervous system. Some of their vulnerabilities are fevers, which kind of reminded me of the Leo, and also heart attacks, which also reminded me of that Leo fire sign energy, which is interesting because the Virgo is very much an earth sign. Their plants are known as nut-bearing trees and also roots of all plants. So remember, Virgos are very root-based, and they are seen as an area of the root chakra, like a lot of times when we are talking about that zodiac. So most people who are Virgo, their birthday is around August 23rd to September 22nd. They are an earth element, so they're known for their practicality, and they are seen as grounded, and some would even say very stable and having like a stability to them. Their modality is a mutable sign. So mutable signs are seen as a little bit more adaptable than some of the other zodiacs. They are flexible and they definitely shift with the seasons. The ruler is Mercury. So Virgos tend to have traits that resemble that Mercury energy, which could be a youthful appearance. And we'll talk about that when we start to go over some famous Virgos. They're also known for communication. And what's also interesting about Virgos too is they are known for being good at not just communication, but also like songwriters. They're able to analyze and also have this intellectual dialogue that feels very wise. But sometimes the Virgo tends to be a little bit more precise and also a little bit more structured than, let's say, the Gemini. We see that two energy of the Gemini and the Virgo as Mercury plays out, but the Virgo is known for being a little bit more centered on precision. Now, for those who know me, when I think of the Virgo, and I'm going to take this to the nursing element. So when I think of Virgo versus Gemini, right? They're both ruled by Mercury, but they're different. So the Virgo kind of reminds me of like the ICU nurse, where the Gemini is kind of like the ER nurse. Similar, but different. The symbols of the Virgo is the Virgin, of course. And we've talked a lot about the Virgo recently as we had a new moon in Virgo. And we're actually getting ready to have another new moon in Virgo. So we had 2 new moons in this Virgo season. So the Virgos have been definitely holding ground like they should for this Virgo season. Often with the energy of the Virgin, we see that area of holding wheat, while it has that representation of like the wheat goddess, the energy of purity, harvest, and also service. But I will tell you, Virgos, just because they have their strengths of being analytical, detailed oriented, and very observant, they're also known for being reliable, hardworking, and serviced mind. And they do have an energy about being cautious and centered around wellness, as we have that 6th house placement. Also, they tend to value routines, and they are really much like practical problem solvers. I can always see a Virgo being a critical thinker, and Virgos to me feel very witchy. They feel very much like centered around nature, the energy of that archetype of being out in the wild, kind of like running with the wolves, being centered with the movement of just life and joy, and also having conscious decisions. But some of their challenges do hit them. I mean, we can't lie. All these zodiacs have energies of challenges. They can be overly critical, and most of the time, unfortunately, it can be on themselves and sometimes even over others. They tend to be a little bit of perfectionists, and they have that tendency of pointing out certain situations that might make other people uncomfortable. I mean, who wants to be around a fucking perfectionist all their life when you can't even get your shit together? So they do have this energy of getting overwhelmed and also anxiety and overthinking. They're definitely the zodiac who is up all night thinking about all the woulda, coulda, shoulda, wouldas I should have said in that argument. Or they are centered around things that seem a little bit more out of structure, and they're wondering how can they put it back in place. Sometimes they struggle with areas of being focused on the bigger picture. They get centered with just the here and now, and they forget to look at the bigger picture. While some things may be affecting them right now, that seems to be the only thing that they're concentrating on, and they forget to pay attention to what possibly could happen instead of just being hyper-focused on one situation. So the Virgo does rule the digestive system, the intestines, and the nervous system, symbolizing energies of like breaking down foods. And what's also interesting is I always like wonder, do Virgos have digestive problems? Do they have a hard time breaking down proteins? Because proteins do take harder time to like break down. The body does have a harder time of breaking them down. And are they centered with that energy of like anxiety around maybe like going to the bathroom or areas of the intestines? If you're a Virgo, let me know. Do you like have IBS? I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit of IBS, okay? But when we look at the root chakra energy and the energy of earth elements, to me, the Virgo is definitely the poster child of the root chakra. While the nervous system is all over the body, the digestive system really affects you at the root base, if you know what I mean. And I tend to see certain zodiacs, we really see that energy kind of come back up. Sometimes fire signs, we see that excessive energy of an excessive solar plex where they kind of have like a lot of like colitis issues, or they have like a lot of irritable bowel issues or energies around like nervous stomach, where with the Virgo, I could see that they either have a very well digestive tract, or maybe they have some energies of constipation, or like I said, IBS. Let me know if you're a Virgo and you're taking some, Miralax on the weekends. Anyways, for the Virgo, when we look at energies of relationship, after they got everything all figured out with their bowels, the energy of relationships, most of the time, the Virgos very loyal, dependable, and devoted. They love and they love strong, but they also like showing their services. So Virgos are kind of like natural people pleasers. In some ways, they're definitely like natural healers, natural caretakers, natural areas of acts of service. So a Virgo would do good in a relationship where they're able to show off those skills. Sometimes the Virgo needs a partner who values communication and effort, because the Virgo is going to want to fucking talk about it. The Virgo is also going to want to make sure that they feel appreciated. So if you're in a relationship with a Virgo and that Virgo does not feel safe in your relationship, you need to ask yourself, what is it about you that is allowing this Virgo to feel so unsafe? Because a Virgo is root-based and feeling safe is their main priority in the relationship. That could be with communication. That could just be with trust as a whole. At times, they may seem reserved, but Virgos are actually pretty fun. I know they kind of like have this complex where it's like, oh, really? You expect me to party with this fucking Virgo? Like, I could see like a Sagittarius being like, you want me to party with a Virgo? What? I don't know how this is going to work out. But Virgos can definitely be fun. They are fun, even though they do have that energy of balance, but they have to get to know you. A Virgo isn't just going to be all over the place, the first one to spark a conversation like a cardinal sign, like an Aries or a Gemini, or, some other mutable signs. But the Virgo is going to be very fun. They just kind of need to warm up to you. Also, people tend to be attracted to Virgos because they bring an energy of balance. So their aura sometimes makes other people feel very calm. Typically because someone is centered in that aspect who might need some calmness, might need some grounding, and also encouragement. And the Virgo tends to do that. Once you get them to break out of their box where they're done overthinking everything about you, they can actually be somebody who is quite beneficial in bringing balance to not just their life, but also others around them. Now, when I look at the Virgo in the energies of the planets, the Virgo sun is definitely grounded and can be seen as a little bit of a perfectionist. We definitely feel that energy of warmth kind of as we transition, especially over the northern hemisphere. Virgo season is kind of seen like that energy right before we transition from summer to fall. So, September, the end of August. So that energy does always feel very fun. Also with the Virgo, it is centered around the area of being organized as a Virgo sun, as that Virgo energy. The moon in Virgo honestly feels like they need emotional security. They need the energy of safety, like we were talking about. And Virgo moons would probably be amazing caretakers. They were definitely centered on the movement of allowing other people to feel comfortable. even if it means that they get a little uncomfortable. A Mercury in Virgo, I definitely see as a sharp communicator. I would also see a Mercury in Virgo as somebody who is able to maybe have very youthful conversations that feel very fun, but also feel very highly analytical. And they love learning. Like a Mercury in Virgo, I feel like is somebody who's like a book reader or somebody who's really centered off learning more knowledge. A Venus in Virgo, typically when we are thinking about love and certain areas of romance, they definitely have high standards. And I could definitely see them being as like the one who kind of like looks at the relationship in all of the aspects, where the partner might be a little bit standoffish, but the Virgos definitely take a Venus and Virgos definitely taking time to make sure the relationship is going good. Now, if the relationship isn't going good, that Venus and Virgo is definitely going to figure that out. And before you know it, they probably already broke up with you. The Mars in Virgo is about teaching the energies of discipline and also the energy of action. So while we do have a root base energy as that Virgo element sparks the creation, that spontaneous energy of creativity and passion that the Mars brings, it's also structured off a discipline. So a Mars in Virgo is going to want to see the discipline and also the energy of action coming to a place of unfolding quite nicely with some stability. The Jupiter in Virgo is centered off of luck through organizations and services. I also feel like a Jupiter in Virgo would probably be very good at like writing papers, and also would also be like really centered on acts of services. Like maybe they run an organization or they're centered around having like a nonprofit, but they're definitely seen as somebody who could create some areas of action and make it feel way, way bigger where it feels very stable. A Saturn in Virgo kind of reminds me of like karmic lessons and also the areas of perfectionism. Now, I could definitely see a Saturn in Virgo having some problems when it comes to being overly perfectionist and also having some areas of issue around health and routine. So that Saturn in Virgo area might have some restraints in the energy of maybe their lifestyle or their energy of feeling aligned or feeling safe in their lifestyle and also their health and wellness. The Pluto and Neptune and Uranus in Virgo are definitely generational movements that are tied into healing, right? So people aren't going to necessarily have a Pluto or Neptune in Uranus or Uranus in Virgo, but that area is seen as the hippie generation, also the energy of changing certain systems, certain areas of technology, also the area of the wellness structure kind of awakening. Now, when we look at the Virgo in the area of services, we have to remember that the sixth house is all about daily routines. So a Virgo is going to like a nice daily routine. Also, a Virgo is going to be centered off of being conscious about what is healthy for them and what works for them. They do tend to have like a healing energy that makes them drawn to like modern medicine or maybe holistic healing or wellness. And there is like an earth connection around them. So I could definitely see a Virgo like being out in nature and being like somebody who is centered around gardening and sustainable practices. Like they're really trying to heal the world. When we think about famous Virgos, one of the most famous is Beyoncé. And she was born September 4th, and she is like, people would say she's a perfectionist. Now, I don't know her, but you know, people say you could see the discipline on stage. She's very precise. You know, Beyonce's routines are like very fine-tuned machines. Like her performances are like to a T in the area of perfection. And she has that precision about her in her area of her craft, which is music, dancing, and all the things. Also, we have Zendaya, who is an actress, and she is definitely centered around style and being like grounded, and also feeling like, she has that presence that feels very wholesome, and also feels very down to earth. Like, she looks like she could be like your bestie. And then also she feels like this energy of just like, oh, I feel like I would get along so good with her, right? And she has like this glamorous structure about her too. Also, Keanu Reeves and Prince Harry are all Virgos as well. And then another really famous Virgo is Michael Jackson. And Michael Jackson kind of gives me that iconic vibe, right? Definitely iconic, and very much centered off of his lyrics and that youthful appearance. So Mercury placements such as like Virgo, or people who have very strong Mercury placements, also like Gemini placements, and they are known for having like a youthful appearance. So when we look at the energy of the Virgo, if the Virgo had an archetype, it would definitely be somewhere around communication, the communicator, the analyst, and also the healer and the priestess. So definitely centered around the energy of like the goddess. And Virgos are seen as the energy of being refined, pure, and centered around service and healing. And it all comes back to how the Virgo was started, with the energy of that movement. So if a Virgo placement is centered with Pisces, that is the opposite of the Virgo. So that means that the Pisces traditionally is ruled by Jupiter, traditionally, but then with Neptune is the modern ruler. So Jupiter is in detriment with Virgo. So sometimes those challenges could come up with certain aspects. So for instance, if you had a Jupiter in Virgo, there might be areas of detail and precision that might make you feel blocked, where you can't express it. Or maybe you felt like you were still very confused about energies of expansion, or you still were overthinking a lot of things where you weren't able to like play it out, but instead you like overthinked it. The big picture and the vision is that the Virgo, that Jupiter energy gets restricted because the Virgo is like overthinking everything or overanalyzing it, where it feels like a detriment. Also, some people believe that Neptune in Virgo is also considered as some type of detriment, because Neptune is about dreams and illusions and just natural spiritual flow, and that energy of almost like the mystic, where the Virgo wants clarity. And the Virgo's like, we can't have this fucking mystic energy. Like, get this mystic energy out of here. I need to know data. I need to know analyzation. I need to know why. I need to know how come. I need to think about this problem like 5 times. And for Neptune, that's very hard, right? So we see that energy could have certain problems or certain occasions that really kind of boil it down. But Jupiter definitely, and modern energies of Neptune, can definitely be seen as a challenge with the Virgo constellation. Now, the Virgin archetype, we've talked so much about it because it is the center of the Virgo. It is seen as having that narrow and also modern sense of the areas of purity and sexual inexperience. And also in ancient times, the Virgin meant the woman who belongs to herself, right? She is seen as very whole, independent because she's not defined by marriage or a man, and also very innocent. So the archetype of purity we also see with wellness and the areas of intention and integrity and the wholeness of self-sufficiency. So that could also be why the Virgo tends to overanalyze certain things, because they have this area where they always want to feel very self-sufficient, and they also want to feel very contained about integrity and wholesomeness. The energy of the Virgin archetype and the Virgo often is self-resilient, meaning that they don't need others to define them, but they do tend to overthink certain energies when, for whatever reason, certain relationships don't work out. They are seen as collective independence, but they deeply yearn for having relationships and also devotion in communication. There is a center that feels very kind of challenging because purity doesn't necessarily mean it's perfect. So you could have an energy that feels very pure, feels very wholesome, but still have a lot of problems because they're constantly refining, they're constantly trying to be aligned, they're constantly trying to fix problems instead of just letting the problems kind of boil on down and make a mess. But sometimes that's what happens. There's going to be a mess. The Virgo's energy is centered off of fixing things and service. So if the Virgo can't fix the situation, it could be very difficult for them. We also see that Virgin is tied into the goddess of harvest, like the area of Ceres or Asteria. And the Virgo connects to the energy of earth and the mother and the tending to the body and the roots and the areas of integrity. So we definitely see that energy of daily routines being focused with that Virgin archetype. Now, when we are thinking of certain mythological goddesses or deities, Astrea, I'm sure, did I say that right? Astrea, the Greek virgin goddess of justice and purity and innocence, who left Earth during humanity's corruption, is tied into the Virgo. So there is a lot of stories of the energy of that virgin and that energy of that movement of leaving due to humanity's corruption. And it also reminds me of the energy of Chiron as well. Also, we have Ceres, which is also tied into Virgo at times, and also the Demeter, which is the goddess of agriculture and harvest, which is tied into Virgo's themes of fertility and nourishment. Also, Vesta kind of has the same energy of the Virgin goddess. A lot of times we see Vesta with maybe like the areas of health, rituals, and sacred fire. And sometimes we also see that energy around the movement of weddings or energies of sealing the deal. And it's seen as an area of calling. And Vesta to me also feels like very like nostalgic, right? Like almost like very goddessy and pure, like when I think of Vesta. The shadow of the Virgin archetype is overly sometimes self-contained, which it can make it difficult because the Virgo might not let other people in to their areas of relationships. So definitely I see Virgos getting along good with other Virgos and also other earth signs. So Virgos typically appreciate relationships with a Taurus and a Capricorn, other earth signs, because they are centered about being grounded and particularly stable. They tend to speak each other's love language, and they both tend to kind of have this energy around nature, being centered around that movement. Also, Cancer and Scorpio, water signs, and could definitely bring that intuition together. I have seen water signs and Virgos working quite well together. I've even seen a very long-lasting relationship with a Virgo and a Pisces, which is actually opposite. So Virgo and Pisces are opposite from each other, but the Virgo tends to get taught by the Pisces how to like live a little, dream, and allow that flow. And they can be magical in certain aspects of the relationship. Some of the problems that could come up with a Virgo is definitely the root chakra being excessive. Sometimes we tend to see Virgos getting too comfortable. And when a Virgo is too comfortable, it could affect them in their home life, meaning they don't want new challenges. They don't want to create new energy around challenges, or they could kind of be centered around getting chubby or getting a little fluffy because maybe for whatever reason they're so comfortable. The block of a root chakra might see more energies of anxiety and also might see more energies of feeling unsafe, where with an excessive root chakra, they're too comfortable. We got to break it up. We got to make them uncomfortable. But if it's blocked or depleted, they might have energies of anxiety. Also, a Virgo in the bedroom can be very sensual. I know people are like, really? A Virgo? No, but they are. They might not be as flashy, but they are very attractive. Virgos tend to be very beautiful. Like, look at Beyoncé, you know, she's very beautiful. And we see that energy of her looking very youthful and being centered around that beautiful appearance. Also, they tend to love the energies of routines, which keeps this appearance going. So I want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast. Let me know who are some of your favorite Virgos in the comments. And everybody have an amazing day. Bye.